Welcome back to Sports Cards once again. In our last video, we looked at a number of basketball card base sets over the past few decades to identify a few that are considered to be iconic to many basketball card collectors. In this video, we'll be continuing this exploration, but with a focus instead on insert sets. Now, originally when I was going to make this video, I wasn't planning on limiting things to just the 1990s, but really, the 1990s was the decade for inserts. So rather than trying to stuff in a couple of the cooler modern inserts like Kaboom or Color Blast, I decided to instead focus this on insert sets from the 1990s specifically. Without further ado, let's get into this. Now, before we get started into the specific insert sets, let's do a very brief overview of the history of inserts in basketball card sets. You can find some inserts in earlier sets in history, such as for example the iconic Fleer sticker series from the 1986 Fleer set, but it was really the early 1990s when inserts became like the exciting thing in card packs. Collectors at that time eagerly awaited to find out what insert card they would find in their purchased packs, and these unique and more scarce cards gave the collector a feeling like they had got their hands on something truly unique and scarce. Now, as soon as card producers realized how much collectors were enjoying these inserts, they began to go a little bit crazy with the trend. Looking through the 1990s cards, you can see a ton of insert cards were produced. Some were and still are very popular and highly sought, while others are seen as somewhat ridiculous and only just a big company's efforts to exploit a market. Due to the ridiculousness of the insert explosion into the 2000s, insert cards began to lose their luster to many collectors. And you can see a long period of time when inserts are just not too common, at least truly sought ones. In more recent years, inserts have been making a little bit of a comeback, but not with the kind of intensity that existed in the 1990s. With this history in mind, this is why this video is looking specifically at the 1990s. To start up this list, first up we have the 1992-93 Stadium Club Beam Team inserts. Back during the 92-93 card season, inserts were just beginning to become a major thing. At that time, Topps Stadium Club released their Beam Team series at a rate of 1 card per 36 packs. Among the list of names in this set included the hot new rookie Shaquille O'Neal. His card from this set still is by far the most sought for from among this set, but the whole insert set has become a popular one to collect, especially by those who are looking for a little taste of nostalgia from some of their early years in the hobby. Next we have the 1993-1994 Fleer Ultra Scoring Kings insert set. Now, when 1993-94 Fleer Ultra was released, the Scoring Kings insert were cards that were high on everyone's wish list. And among inserts from the 1990s, it was and still remains one of the most sought for. Piecing together a full set isn't necessarily that expensive except for one major highlight, the Michael Jordan. A PSA 10 version of that card just recently sold in September 2021 for over $20,000. The Scoring King cards were, if you ask me, one of the most beautifully produced cards of the 1990s. And I think a lot of people would agree with me on that one, considering how well these cards still do on the basketball card market. Next, we have the 1993-94 Upper Deck Special Edition Die-Cut All-Stars. For collectors in the mid-90s who loved clean, well-designed, uniquely shaped cards of some of the best players in the league, the die-cut All-Star inserts were well appreciated. While these cards were actually almost as difficult to pull from a pack as the above two mentioned, and their value was and still is considerably less than that of the Scoring Kings, this was a card that was one of the big goals for basketball card collectors on a budget. The prices of the cards kept them in the range of possibility for many young collectors, and the unique design really stood out to a lot of people. And for most people, they could also find their favorite player amidst the set, making it great as an addition to any personal collection. Next, we have 1996-97 Skybox ES2000, a cut above insert series. Some inserts could be pulled at a relatively likely rate, while others, like the 96-97 Skybox EX2000, a cut above, required luck beyond most mortals. With a rate of being inserted in only 1 out of every 288 packs, or 1 out of every 12 boxes, this card was about as rare could be at the time. As such, for the average collector, this actually wasn't even on their minds. It just seemed like a fable. But when one did pop its head out of a pack, it was like finding the Holy Grail, a long-lost artifact only gazed upon by a few eyes. Now, some 25 years later, combine the rarity of this card initially with the fact that the unique die-cut style of it made it very hard for it to remain in good condition throughout the years, and you have a card that can fetch a premium in today's market, a super premium. That scarcity has made this a gem in the eyes of many collectors, although for me personally, I'm sure it'll forever remain a fiction. Next up, we have the 1996-97 Skybox Z-Force Big Men on Court insert series. Now, almost as rare as a cut above, the Skybox Z-Force Big Men on the Court series was another very valuable Holy Grail style insert from the same year. The eye-popping 90s style graphics of the cards stand out as very appropriate as a representation of the time period. The list of names that made up the set are also very popular names: Charles Barkley, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, Michael Jordan, Sean Kemp, Alonzo Mourning, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Scottie Pippen, and David Robinson. Today, these cards can fetch a couple of $100 each if they're graded well. Next, we have the 1996-97, again, Skybox Premium Autographs. Now, in modern day cards, player autographs have become a common thing that it's almost just expected that even relatively casual collectors will have at least a few. This was not the case for card collectors in the 1990s. There had been a few sets of cards that introduced player autographs to a small degree previous to the 96-97 Skybox Premium autographs, but this set was really when autographs became a more normal thing. No longer did you have to mail off a card to the team address with a letter asking for a signature from your favorite player, and yes, I did that quite a few times and never once got back a reply, nor did you have to try to push your way forward through a crowd of spectators to try to get an autograph in person. With the introduction of this set, autographs started to become more accessible to the masses. Finally, moving away from 96-97, 1 year forward to the 97-98 Upper Deck Game Jerseys insert series. Now, if the 96-97 Skybox Premium Autograph series was the introduction to what has now become a hobby mainstay of autograph cards, then the 97-98 Upper Deck Game Jerseys insert did the same for the introduction of slices of jersey into the card itself, which has also become common in cards today. However, whereas today's jersey cards can be found at least commonly enough to make them relatively accessible to most collectors, the 97-98 Upper Deck Game Jerseys came at just 1 per 2,500 packs. Talk about scarcity. In fact, the Jordan version of this card had a total of 23 produced only, and higher graded versions of it can sell today for well into the 5 figures. Despite the rarity and the fact that most of us will likely never gaze upon this card in real life, its relevance in basketball card history is set, since this tactic has become a mainstay in cards today. 97-98 Metal Universe Precious Metal Gems. Now, when I was growing up, I wish I knew what I would be missing in the future by not purchasing much from Fleer Metal or Metal Universe. Those cards were so cool, and still are. There are a number of metal-related inserts that could make this list, but in order to limit it to one, I decided to put the Precious Metal Gems insert series here. While the Precious Metal Gems weren't nearly as uncommon as some of the previously mentioned inserts, the fact that there were more than 100 different players in the set meant that finding your favorite player or the few ultra superstars in the mix was actually pretty much as uncommon as it came. But since the cards themselves weren't that uncommon, it was possible to see some of them, just sparking that desire to hunt down and find your favorite players. These cards today continue to be very valuable, especially due to the fact that finding them in excellent quality condition is tough. They had a foil covering on them that tended to flake off easily, so many of them look a little beaten down nowadays. If a gem mint version is found nowadays and it's graded as such, it'll cost you a pretty penny and a half. Next, we have the 97-98 X2001 Jambalaya, which is also very delicious food, let me say. Now, the Jambalaya inserts remain to this day as one of the very most sought-after insert sets of the 1990s. As a card that could only be found once in every 720 packs, they were amongst the rarest. But with the unique shape, the artistic style, and the caliber of the players on the checklist, this set is a popular one among collectors who are willing to spend big money. Do you own any cards from the sets mentioned in this video? Let me know in the comments below, and please subscribe to the channel for lots of great basketball card content.